So, you may remember a video we did quite a few years ago, literally 3 years ago now, and I will link it in the description below this video if you missed it. I suggest you do, where we talked to Attic Door Productions about their game, The 13th Doll. And we are here once again to talk with the developers, as it has had quite a few updates, and we felt it was a good time to talk, as it has been doing the rounds, as the Kickstarter has been very successful. So, please guys, introduce yourself for everybody once again.
Okay, I'm Ryan Holtkamp, the project lead.
And I'm James Bateman, the lead environment artist.
So, obviously, things have changed quite substantially since we last spoke. Obviously, too much detail, not really needed, but just give a rough overview of how things have come along since we last spoke.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
So, yeah, I was, I was just going to say, yeah, the last interview we did roughly 3 years ago now was maybe, I guess, the very early days of development. So in terms of progress, we're looking now at this point to sort of be done, hopefully with any luck, by the end of this year, if not early next year. So there is a vast sort of difference in terms. I mean, the overall sort of plot of the game and the feel of it hasn't changed. I mean, we've had the kind of vision in place since the beginning, but it's pretty much, you know, night and day in terms of how much of the game we actually have to show, you know, nowadays since over those last 3 years.
Well, yeah, I'd imagine quite a lot of development's taken place.
Yeah. Sorry,
Ryan, I think I interrupted you there.
Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, I think James is pretty much on the button. Everything we had planned then is pretty much the same now. The only real difference I think now is we're full into Unity. We may not have been at that point, so it's a fully it's a real-time 3D game, whereas before it was more of a traditional point and click. So we're, you know, right now we're probably about 70% of the way through.
Okay.
With the models and the assets, and we are tentatively planning an Oculus Rift version.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've done a couple tests, and it's pretty fun to be in the Stoff Mansion in virtual reality. So hopefully we can share that with everyone.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. You mentioned that it's not really going to be a traditional point and click anymore. Does that mean you're literally walking around the environment as you'd expect, or how's it exactly going to work?
Right. It's more. I hate to say first-person shooter, but it's more first-person controls like that.
Right. So like Amnesia or something like that.
Yeah. So we've got. I mean, one of the things about Seventh Guest was they prided themselves that you could play just with the mouse, and so we've retained that, so you can actually hold the right button down, and it'll move forward.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Otherwise, it's, you know, WASD and the mouse. So.
Okay. So it still is technically a point and click, just not in the traditional sense, kind of more of a Telltale style, I suppose.
Right. Yeah, and I think actually some of the fans have kind of complained about that.
Oh, okay.
So we'll probably, it's one of our stretch goals on the Kickstarter to actually put in a traditional point and click. And I think we'll actually do that.
Let's see. Where are your stretch goals? I had them up.
Yeah, it's either 50 or 55,000. And we're pretty close to hitting that at this point.
I did have them, and now they've gone. Where have they gone?
And just while you're looking that up,
there it is. Yeah, I see it. Classic navigation mode. Yeah, 55k.
I mean, so I would say in terms of the voice cracked. In terms of the control scheme, I'd say because Ryan used the FPS term. I'd say the best comparison I can think of is it's a similar control scheme to Dear Esther or Gone Home. It's that type of point and click control scheme.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously more interactive than Dear Esther, though.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it's a good thing James is on to save me.
Oh dear. So obviously your Kickstarter has been pretty much a resounding success. So obviously congratulations to you both. It's pretty much gone crazy. I don't think I've got the last couple of days without seeing an article about it on PC Gamer or whatever. So congratulations.
Thanks very much. I mean, I had been following the campaign really closely for obvious reasons, and we hit about 15,000 within the first week. And it had been going pretty steady until then, and I went on holiday to Austin, and it was literally as I was getting on the plane to come home, Ryan messaged me and was like, oh, we've been funded, and I hadn't checked the campaign in a couple of days. The last time I checked, we were floating around 30,000.
Yeah.
So I literally, like, I was about to go on this plane. I was like, hang on, wait, I've got to check my phone. And suddenly we jumped up by 10,000. And that was kind of like the kind of, oh my God, this is going to happen moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we were at about 35, maybe like 34 or 5, something like that. And we were really stressing out about how we were going to get this just over the hump, you know? And because we wanted to do that as early as possible and then announce that we're funded and then, you know, hopefully, you know, do the stretch goals. And we were just stressing about it. Like, how do we, you know, convince people to back this? And things were going really well. And Kickstarter's always plateau in the middle, and we were seeing that. In fact, we actually had a day where we went down.
Oh God!
And so and we were just panicking. We didn't know what to do. We were, you know, just racking our brains. And then we crossed the 35 threshold, and somebody put in $5,000.
Holy crap!
And and so I don't know. My friend posted an image of the Kickstarter with the 40,000 on it, and I was like, you know, that's a really cruel joke. That image. And I went and checked it, and I was just in shock. I still am. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that must have been surreal to log on to the page and just see that he wasn't joking.
Yeah, especially after we'd gone down. You know, we'd gone down the day before, and then we bumped back up, and then we're funded. And it's like, wow.
Do you know if that was like because you were featured on things like, you know, VG247 and PT Gamer and all of that, or was it just kind of like they noticed it when that happened? Or, do you know, by any chance, or?
Well, we have tried to reach out to every venue we possibly could. We've reached out to, I mean, we put together a press kit. My friend Nick Giannis has been like throwing stuff out to everywhere.
Yeah.
Schweitzel has been pitching stuff, and so I think every site that covers us gives us a little bump.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have a pretty good relationship with Trilobite, who ran their own Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And they sent an update to their fans, and that bumped us up pretty well too.
Yeah.
So I think every little bit helps, but I can't really point to one in particular.
Fair enough. I was just curious to see if it was just one of them kind of giving you a leg up, or if it was helpful, but you know, not what made it, I guess.
I mean, we've definitely been covered by, you know, some really prominent places. I was, you know, amazed. Actually, sort of took notice. You know, that was kind of the point where I was thinking, wow, this is sort of going to the point where it's almost like going viral. I mean, we had PC Gamer, we had
it was on Eurogamer as well.
Eurogamer as well. We were tweeted by Meg Turney, and even literally about 15 minutes ago, we just had a comment and a pledge from Robert Hirschbeck, who played Stealth in the original games.
Wow, okay.
So that was kind of a very recent development. So I've just been amazed the last sort of couple of weeks or so how far-reaching this has got.
Yeah, it's definitely come a long way, especially since we last spoke. I mean, it was basically still in its infancy, and now it's hopefully almost done, and obviously been a successful Kickstarter. And I'm gonna assume that you're okay for a Steam release.
Yeah, we got on Greenlight about the same time that we started the Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
And you know, I always knew we'd get greenlit. But I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. We got it in 11 days.
Oh, okay.
And so, it's dumbfounding. I'm amazed. Yeah, we hit it in 11 days, and I expected it to take months. So yeah, we're going to be on Steam, and hopefully on GOG. We're trying to be on GOG, and that looks promising so far. But we'll see.
Yeah, with any luck, you guys will be on there, and perhaps other platforms such as, say, Humble Bundle or whatever, because Steam is obviously the platform that most people are concerned with, but it's always nice to have these DRM-free options available, so fingers crossed you guys get on there as well.
Yeah, I think the Humble Bundle would be a really nice place to get a release as well. I mean, obviously, it's this sort of altruistic part of it as well. Obviously, it helps other indie developers who are just like us.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And you know, help more people get off the ground and sort of, you know, share the benefit of this sort of run of success we seem to be on.
I'm not going to expect a exact release date, but do you at least have a rough release window for the game yet, or?
Well, I'm hoping by the end of the year. Worst case is first quarter of 2016, I think, and I think we're on par to meet that.
Okay, that's good. And any decision on the price?
Well, I think we're gonna go like $15, $14.99 or something like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, okay, that's good. That's good. And obviously you're hoping for console versions, but they're obviously a bit far ahead, and it's only 6 days left. So unless you guys go crazy, we're probably not going to see that. But I guess if the game does well enough, you might consider that in the future.
oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, I would love to see it on consoles. I am more of a console gamer than a PC gamer, so I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it would be good. Just obviously you spoke a little bit how it's going to work. It's going to have different style of navigation from the traditional games, and it's not going to be a strict point and click exactly. But looking at the screenshots on the game, it looks like it has some horror elements. Would you say that's accurate, or is it just kind of more surreal kind of feel to it?
Is that I attempted to articulate this to myself earlier, and I couldn't really come up with a really good description of the genre it falls into, outside of it's sort of like a dark mystery story.
Okay.
I'd be interested to see how Ryan would describe the genre, because it is quite
Bit of a mishmash.
quirky. Yeah, how would you
Yeah,
describe it?
Yeah, it's kind of tough to describe. It's. I mean, I would definitely put it within horror, but it's not really slasher or gore,
Right.
and it's kind of more family friendly. I think. One of the things that people tell me all the time is how they play the game, with their parents or whatever, or with their grandmother, and yeah. So there's I think there's like a family bonding sort of thing with the seventh guest and the 11th hour.
Yeah.
Not so much the 11th hour, I guess, but with the seventh guest definitely. And
Okay.
so I hate to go like tame. It's not tame by any means, but it is more family friendly, probably like teenage and above.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more dramatic and mystery than it is horror, I would say.
Yeah, I was just going by the screenshot of the bathtub full of blood and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. There are definitely kind of I want to say like shock moments.
Yeah.
So there are kind of flares of horror here and there, but I think we wanted to sort of reel it back from, because the 11th hour was very much horror oriented, and it was quite graphic and quite adult in nature, whereas we wanted to kind of reel it back to get back to more the sort of campy film noir sort of quirky horror feel that the seventh guest had, but with moments of sort of unexpected, oh my god,
Yeah, okay. We did touch on this before, but Windows 10 hates me. It's obviously going to be a puzzle-oriented game. Would there be different difficulty levels for the puzzles, or is it just going to be umbrella across the boards? The puzzles are what you see, pretty much. Because I'm terrible at puzzles. When I eventually get around to playing the game, fully expect to be annoyed watching me play.
In terms of different difficulty levels, I don't think we have a plan for sort of a multi-tiered level. I think it's just the puzzles are, by design, very sort of mentally challenging. They're not really challenges of physical dexterity or anything. It's very sort of cerebral and logic puzzles, word puzzles, number puzzles, things like that. We do have a hint system in the game.
Yep.
So you're not left completely in the dark, but part of the design of the original games that we've kept is the challenge isn't necessarily solely the puzzle itself. Part of the challenge is that you're presented with a puzzle, but you're not necessarily given the rules of the puzzle. That's kind of part of the mystery.
So you have to figure out the rules before you can even start on the puzzle.
Yeah, it's not just about finding the solution, it's about finding out what it is the puzzle actually expects of you in the first place.
Oh, okay. Alright, I'm definitely going to be terrible at it then.
If the player does struggle, there is a hint system available, and if you request enough hints from the game, there is the option to skip over puzzles, but there may or may not be repercussions for doing so, shall we say?
Well, I think it's probably better if there are, because otherwise, what's to stop someone from just spamming the hints and then just skipping over the entire game?
Yeah, I mean,
right.
In the seventh guest, you could, bar one puzzle, you could literally skip every puzzle in the game, but every time you skipped a puzzle, you would essentially lose a part of the story. So you would get to the ending, but you would have the whole plot would still be a mystery.
Oh, right, okay, I see. And it looks like for a $15 game, if that is indeed the pricing that you stick with, it's going to have quite a lot of replay value, as it says here that you have 5 different endings, I believe.
Yeah, there's and there's 2 playable characters, so you're set. There's Tad, the character from the original game. He returns in our game, and he's so traumatized by his experience in the Soft Mansion in the first game that he winds up in a mental institution. And so he's still haunted and visited by these ghosts from the first game, and they kind of compel him to return to the mansion and rescue them and defeat Stop once and for all. But of course, he's stuck in this mansion, and along comes a new character, a new doctor who's fresh out of college and completely naive to the legacy of Henry Stoff, and he comes to this asylum where all these people are plagued by all these traumatic events started by Henry Stoff, and so he sees this as a complete mystery. He has no idea what it is, so he decides to take Tad on a cathartic trip, or what he thinks is a cathartic trip, back to the mansion, and that's where the story begins. And so as a player, you can choose to play as Dr. Richmond or play as Tad, and both stories kind of intertwine as the story goes on.
Yeah.
But they're completely separate experiences with different rooms, different puzzles, and each character has a couple different endings. And then there's a third that's for both players. It's kind of the correct ending, so to speak.
Ah, I see. So definitely getting value for money out of the game from the sounds of things.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, the player's definitely rewarded for taking the time to play both storylines. They are kind of, I don't use the term interdependent, but I guess intertwined, the term that Ryan went with, is probably more correct. That to get the sort of full outcome of the storyline, you really do need to play both storylines. They cross over, and one storyline will have details that the other one won't. So you are encouraged to play both storylines.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And so I think what we talked about earlier with the hint system, what we kind of have planned is that if you solve all 5 endings without cheating, that unlocks a new puzzle that would get bonus content. So
okay.
We haven't quite decided what's in there yet, but it's pretty cool.
So definitely want something there for the people who are going to be crazy enough to do all the puzzles without any hints.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to discuss with you guys. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up the video, or?
Not sure. I guess just thanks to everyone who has supported us. Thanks for backing our Kickstarter, and thanks for pledging more. Please.
Yeah, I think we're still kind of coming to terms with the fact that it's been as successful as it has, and we're having been with the project as even as long as I have, let alone as long as Ryan has, it just seems strange to suddenly find ourselves at this point where, we always knew the game was going to come out, but we never knew it was going to be as, successful and in demand as it is. And to have actually had a successful funding campaign for it is just kind of beyond anything we really dreamed of at the start. So it's definitely been, the last year or so has been a bit of a roller coaster of emotions in terms of seeing this thing come together.
Yeah, I mean, I remember.
Yeah,
sorry.
Oh, just the last 4 months have been a crazy roller coaster. I mean, 4 or 5 months ago, we had no concept that it was just going to be a freeware game, something we made and released, and hopefully people liked it. And then we got approached by Trilobite to actually license the game for retail, and we had to prove it to them that we were capable. We had to make a video for them, and then we had to make a video for the Kickstarter, and then we got funded. So it's just been an insane roller coaster of events over just a short time, 3 or 4 months. It's overwhelming. It's crazy. So.
Well, definitely, again, congratulations. I mean, I was going to say, before I remember when we last spoke, it very much was this small passion project that you guys are working on in your spare time, and now, with 6 days to go, there's $47,000 funded, so, again, congrats, and the Kickstarter is linked in the description below this video, guys. If you're interested in checking it out, it will be there as well as our original interview. If you want to check that out, where there's way more information about the game. That's the reason we didn't talk too much about that, because we talked at length last time. So Thank you guys again for joining me. We'll probably talk again in a few months to talk about how successful the game's actually been, etc. But thanks again for joining me today.
No worries, thank you, anytime.
Yeah, thanks.